Hello and welcome to the Chicago Tribune's Bear Download here at Hallis Hall. I'm Rich Campbell, this is Dan Wiederer. We're here on Tuesday, the second of the 3 OTAs that are open to media. Dan, a lot of focus today on the wide receivers. Talked a lot about the defense to this point, but obviously a lot of excitement on offense as they bring back 11 starters, and it starts with the receiving core, 2 Pro Bowlers, and then beyond that, an interesting competition for the 3rd wide receiver spot.
Right, obviously at the top you have Brandon Marshall and Alshon Jeffrey, and I think what's most interesting about these 2 guys is they're so invested in each other's growth, but it comes in a sense of they're pushing each other, they want each other to get better, but you can sense that they don't want the other one to be better than themselves.
Yeah.
And so you've sensed that from Brandon Marshall for a long time. He mentioned at his signing, when he signed his contract extension, that Alshon Jeffrey is going to extend his career. And part of that is because there's this constant push to stay above Alshon Jeffrey and to not be satisfied with last year's production. Both guys have talked about that. Alshon Jeffrey talked about it today, that last year's in the past, and these guys are determined to be the #1 receiving duo in the NFL, and they want to not only be that, but they want to be the #1 and #2 receivers in the NFL. So that push, I think, is there on a daily basis, and these guys really fuel each other.
Right, and we know by now that the top receivers, Brandon Marshall, Alshon Jeffrey, and Marquise Wilson, went to Marshall's facility, train in South Florida, brought a lot of the Bears with him, but mainly that started as the receiving trio here, trying to push their games forward from a really successful season in 2013. And as that relates to Marquise Wilson, only 2 catches last year for 13 yards, and now he's in position to be this #3 receiver. And you see him already putting on weight. He said he's at 207, was at 184 last year, and really eager to learn by example, or learn from the example set by Brandon Marshall and Alshon Jeffrey in terms of their work ethic.
Well, let's be clear. It's unfair to expect Marquise Wilson to take an Alshon Jeffrey-like leap from year 1 to year 2.
Of course.
But if he can make strides in his own game, that's going to be a very positive development for this offense. And even Alshon Jeffrey talked about it today with Marquise Wilson, saying, hey, this kid's got a lot of talent. And he came down to that facility in South Florida and he put on weight. The Bears wanted him to put on weight. Marquise Wilson went down there. He dedicated himself to it. He learned how to be a professional. He put on about 15 pounds. And he looks like he's ready to go and assume this complementary role, which they'll need in this offense. It's going to be very interesting to watch it unfold.
Right, and the Bears like Marquise as a catcher of the ball, natural runner. He's got a lot to prove as a blocker. Certainly the increased size will help, but also just the way that all 3 of these guys can work together, you see reasons for optimism in this passing game that you take it a step forward. I mean, Earl Bennett was an important part of this offense last year, and replacing him is no small order.
Well, no question, but you have to also remember that #3 receiver is probably #5 on the pecking order of targets. When you're talking about Matt Forte catching all the balls he catches, when you talk about Martellus Bennett looking to catch more balls in year 2 with the team. So you need him to fit in. It's going to be a key role, but let's make sure that we understand where Marquise Wilson's role will be when they get into training camp and into the preseason.
Right, so much to unfold in that competition. All right, Bears will be back at it for the media next Tuesday. In the meantime, stay tuned to ChicagoTribune.com for all your Bears coverage. For Dan Wiederer, I'm Rich Campbell, and that'll do it for Bear Download.